making. Slow crafted, all natural, and preservative free with uncompromising standards. Cooked gently in small batches to create velvety textures and layers of flavor like no other caramel you've ever experienced. It is our sincere hope that you enjoy each Seuss caramel as much as we enjoy making it for you. I'm Tammy Fahey, and I never tire of hearing how much people enjoy my caramels. Please visit SeussCaramel.com to place your order and to see a listing of stores that carry our amazing caramels.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Hermann.
Hello, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Hermann, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on what we love to do, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. And I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today I just want to wish everyone blessings for a Happy New Year 2021. What an eye-opening year 2020 has been. Clear vision, right? So for many, we're seeing with different eyes of awakening. Awakening to deception, corruption, and for those who are working tirelessly to reclaim our country and the world for humanity. In today's show, we'll discuss the importance of the Great Awakening and how we can help create a world of peace in 2021. With all that we learned from last year, many are seeing with new eyes, beyond the shadow into the light of reality, and celebrating a new era of peace through grace. Today I'm joined by my associate, Kathy Kubacki, an amazing intuitive healer who has been on the show before. We're going to have an open dialogue, asking questions that many people are afraid or don't know to ask about all that's going on in our world at this moment in time. We'll share some insights on preparing for this new age, this Great Awakening. And please help us get these messages out to the world by liking and sharing our videos and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Be sure to click on the bell to be reminded when new shows are added each week. I'm going to start today with a simple poem that came to me as I was thinking about the content for today's show. Who am I to question what is real and what is not? How can I look beyond the illusion into the depths of the dark? Who am I to mention the darkness I have seen, beyond the shadow of confusion, into the great unseen? How can I awaken others to the truth, to help them see through their eyes the knowing of their heart? When will people listen to the sounds beyond the veil? Where will our lives take us if we live for truth and light? Why won't people awaken with the call for humanity, to awaken from their slumber and set our spirits free? So many questions to reflect on this new year. So what is the Great Awakening? If this is the year of Great Awakening, what are we awakening to? It seems that many people are in the process of awakening to a new awareness, a greater understanding with higher vibrational energy levels, and accompanying compassion, consideration, and peace of mind. Having lived through the year 2020, the year of clear 2020 vision, think about all it has shown us. There are definitely things we wish we hadn't seen, yet were important facets to observe in the process of waking up. Many people's eyes were opened to a brand new reality. We gained improved clarity of what was important to us as we walked through the suffering in many ways, from COVID scares to illness, financial strain, isolation, external control, masks, vaccines, and political confusion. Those who managed to break free from societal programming discovered a shocking level of mistrust for our governing elite. For years, people at the top used and abused our systems for their own self-serving goals, without the average person's awareness. As we question what we've been told and delve deeper, we discover what is truly going on behind the scenes in our illusion of a safe and comfortable world. As we arise from the programmed beliefs that leaders and media sources have painted in our minds, we awaken from an induced hypnotic trance. When we hear things often enough, we believe them, even if they're untrue. In the Chronicles of Hope book series, Ray, the god of Atlantis, said, "There are many people in need of hope today. They will believe the wrong message as well as the right message. You have to reach them first." So, how on earth are we to reach them? Kathy, are you there?
I am. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome back to the show. Tell us a little bit about your background, reintroduce yourself, and then tell our readers or listeners what you think the Great Awakening is.
Okay. My background started, oh my gosh, it's been an evolution. It started with my husband's illness in 1992 and evolved through getting him through that, starting and running a massage practice for 20 plus years, learning hypnosis, getting more and more into the metaphysical, which I started in the 70s. And it brings me to now. I've always been that person that questions why. Mm-hmm. What's this really about? So I just it's been a natural evolution. So my husband and I have a practice called Heart Spring Healing. We're both hypnotists, and he reads tarot. I read the Akashic Records, and we just, every day's an adventure.
Absolutely. And you're based out of the Finger Lakes region in New York, right?
Yes, but we do, we can do just about everything that we do on the internet or the phone.
Absolutely.
So that's been one of the good things that's come out of the past year.
Yes.
But the Great Awakening, I think, is the call to look beyond.
Yeah.
I always assume when I go into something or start with, it's never about what it's about. So I try to listen to what the issue is and then go inside to find out, but what is the issue really? So I think the Great Awakening is about not looking externally, but looking internally for answers.
Absolutely. And as we look externally, there's so much deception in all areas. I know for myself, I was asleep until my amazing guides kind of shook my belief systems and woke me up with a real start a couple of years ago. And they alerted me at the time that our world is at a tipping point and we need to wake up. They told me this is over 4 years ago. We need to do what we can to help our world before it's too late. And you and I both travel into the unseen world in the hypnosis-based clearing work we do to rescue lost souls. So we've witnessed many dark souls who are in need of help, right? As well as lost ones who simply couldn't see the light. And oftentimes they're just very easy to, once we show them the way, or we have our guides show them the way, they welcome the invitation to be guided into the light by loved ones or amazing guides. So it's been an interesting journey, really 30 years for me and many years for you as well of delving into this shadow world. And yet 4 years ago was the first time that I witnessed the darkness pervading our government officials. I've been kind of in a fog, and I was shocked to see for myself the depths of the evil that's in our government. And that's what people, I feel like the Great Awakening is to wake up beyond the illusion. And I've been saying this in many ways, over the past while, that we've got to wake up from the illusion, but it falls on deaf ears because people have to be open to hear the truth with a willingness to embrace change before they can realize that things are not what they seem. We're not in Kansas anymore, guys. We each must take the initiative to look beneath the surface and risk having our foundation shattered, really. So 4 years ago, when one of my consultants and I were looking at the candidates, there was one individual that stood out. And he was different than most of the others in our political systems. This courageous person was shrouded in radiant light. This is a man who was willing to sacrifice all he had to lead the people back to truth. I saw this with my own eyes. Kept myself as a quiet observer, don't rock the boat. And Ray, the patron god of Atlantis, came to me and said, "The people who put the greatest good for the greatest number ahead of themselves are the people you can trust. There are a lot of them on earth. It's what's in people's hearts that defines their spirit, not what comes out of their mouths." So this is the great deception, the great illusion. Because this past year, 2020 for me, while delving into the darkness to assist others, my vision has expanded. And you've been with me on this journey, Kathy.
I have.
Yeah, we observe things that were usually only written in scary movies, right? And gruesome novels, things that I don't really like to watch. Or I watched The Matrix for the first time, going, "Oh my God, that's some of this stuff is what we've seen in our journeys."
Yeah,
and it's amazing what we discover the irreprehensible things people have done to others in the pursuit of their own goals, of their own personal power. And as we continue to get curious, I was amazed to awaken to the awareness of the deception that humanity's been dealing with for a long, long time. This has been a year of, 2020 has been a year of education, of clear vision, of eye-opening, of get your head out of the sand, lady, and look around. So.
Yeah, it's true. I want to read a quote from the Chronicles of Hope, Book 1.
Okay.
It's Mind. And it's a quote from the Unquietus. "There is little threat to the existence of life on Earth from climatic change. However, civilization is much more fragile than life. Humanity needs to prepare for these changes, which are inexorable, inevitable. It's coming. Buckle up."
Exactly. Yeah, they were telling me this. And, at the time I was thinking, well, we've got 100 years. That was pretty close. But this past year has caused me to see it's happening right now. It has been happening. And there's so many people who have left their countries to escape slavery and persecution, traveling to America for safety, the land of the free. And yet we are facing the loss of freedom, and people don't even realize it because they're unaware. They're not asking the right questions. They're just busily going about their days like I was, and they're not paying attention to what's truth.
Well, that's just it, because I was raised to kind of dig deeper. If it seems too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So let's take universal basic income. If you can stay home and just get paid to stay home and do whatever and contemplate your navel, how does that make you different from the pigs in a pen on a farm? Because that can be taken away from you at any moment.
And see, I was raised to just don't ask questions, get out there and work. I was never one. I was always curious, but I was also not encouraged to challenge the status quo. And it's when you start on that path of curiously challenging what you think is real, it really does shake your foundation. It's amazing what you find.
Well, that's so true. And, all of us are busy living our life, not necessarily enjoying our life, because you get so wrapped up in making a living that you almost forget to have a life. So that's kind of the questions I always asked in my mind is, where is this balance? And there's no doubt that we're out of balance right now.
Our world is out of balance, and a lot of what we've taken for granted is at risk. We're at risk of losing. I think that we are on a precipice right now, as they've said multiple times through the series, that the world is at a tipping point, and
absolutely.
And we need to do something. But what do we do? That one of the things that you and I have been talking a lot about is how to get people to ask the questions that they need to ask, to learn what they need to learn. So are there certain questions that you think people should be asking?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to invite them to be curious, and they can either accept or decline the invitation. But I think, one of the questions I've asked myself countless times over the last 4 years is, what would a battle between good and evil look like? Mm-hmm. What would that look like? When I think back about 2020, and forgive me, I'm not being flippant, but 2020 started with an impeachment that ended in acquittal and concluded with a highly contested presidential election. And then the meat in the sandwich was the COVID-19 pandemic, including mask mandates, lockdowns, store closings, massive economic disruptions, restrictions based on skewed models and data, flattening the curve, closures and restrictions continuing, disinformation, misinformation, too much information, resulting in an almost continual perpetuation of fear.
Exactly.
There was division, pitting neighbor against neighbor at a level unseen since the Civil War. Devastating isolation, being told that there are essential and non-essential workers. There were suicides, despair, death by a variety of causes. A rushed creation of vaccines with no mention of medicinal cures or natural cures. There were skewed statistics, theories, flawed test kits, riots, murders, mayhem, and a surrender of civil rights, all in the name of keeping us safe.
And there were mention of natural remedies, but there was also extreme censorship, which, what people are just awakening to is that we are at war. This is not a physical war yet, but it's a mental war. It's a war of control of people's minds. And you and I are both hypnotists, so we know the power of trance. We know the power of repetitive mantras that you say over and over and over. And when you say it over and over to yourself, you believe it, whether it's positive or negative. When you hear something over and over and over again, it becomes real in your life. And that's what has been happening in the mainstream media, is they are presenting this narrative over and over and over again of fear. They're causing so much fear. And one of the things that I started several months ago, I was advised by my guides and by others to stop listening to that kind of stuff. So I turned off the TV, completely turned it off. And I've been
too.
getting my information from other sources. And even these other sources, you have to be suspect because there are people out there with their own agendas. And,
Absolutely.
and what people need to be aware of is that people need to think for themselves. And that's one of the things that the guides have said to us many times is don't tell people what to think. If anybody tells you what to think, go the other way. You have free will. You must learn to think and judge for yourself.
Well, who controls the flow of our information?
Right.
Ask yourself. And then who allows it? Because at the very least, it takes our acquiescence.
Exactly. And this whole, like you were talking about, this presidential election, this is not about presidential policy or presidential personalities at all. This is about a war to take over our country. And this person who, the presidential election is just, the personality is just somebody who's kind of in the way. And that's what people need to start looking behind, beyond the illusion and beyond the personalities. I've known people who've gotten so stuck on personalities, and it's like, silly, please wake up. Look beyond that. Look at what's really going on. And it's so frustrating to try and get people to wake up gently without telling them what to think, just inviting them. I saw a little meme on Facebook yesterday that said there was a big picture of Noah's Ark, and it says, don't convince people to get on the ark. Just point out the fact that it sure is raining here. We can't convince them.
But it's funny because people are astoundingly easily fooled. Mm-hmm. The difficult part is then convincing them, showing them, making them think about the fact that they have been.
Yes.
Truth does not have an a la carte line, does it?
No. And there are things that I see and I'll share with a small group of people, and then that'll turn out to be not true, even though it's coming from a source that I think that I can trust. So it is about discernment. And that's one of the things that Samael really enforced with us. Use your own discernment. Do not follow anyone who says there is only one way. You must wake up to use your discernment, and we must stand up for what is truth and right. I mean, that's what, the very people who built this land built it for free will and integrity. And they're unknowingly about to have their freedom removed by the elite who they're seeking to enslave others for their own power, and people don't get this. And it's
Lois, there's so much focus on our bodies, okay, and has been, appearance and now virus, and there's so much focus on our bodies and no thought given to what we actually are, which is consciousness. And that explains the effort behind keeping us unconscious. Because if somebody's unconscious, think about it literally. You're forced to let somebody else control you, aren't you?
And it's also, there's the physical, but there's also, and we know that they're messing with our mental, emotional bodies, but they're also messing with our spiritual bodies that we know is so valuable. I mean, they're shutting down churches and places of worship, but you can still go to bars. There's just something bizarre. Sure. Yeah.
When I think about so many of the answers to these questions are in your books. Mm. So I look at the part, if you want a page number, it's on page 260 and 261, where the universe is talking about the origin of hate. Mm. Hate comes from isolation and separation. Yep. From that we're alone. Hate is a symptom, a cause, and in turn, it becomes a cause for the actions that occur. Because much hatred is based on the belief of difference, that another individual is deserving of hatred because they believe differently.
Oh, goodness. And then that gets us right into this whole thing about, my family had a wonderful discussion about about the whole concept of differences. And I grew up in the South and realized in an era that we welcomed uniqueness among each other. Everybody wanted just to fit in and feel comfortable with each other. And now there's this whole concept of pointing fingers and segregation that seems so odd. But it's that difference and divergence. That's that's part of the fear mongering that's going on, is saying that accusing people of being bigoted or these other names. And it's just not true. But it's causing people to feel worse about themselves and about each other. It's causing that rift. It's bringing in that fear. And that's where we know we're all one. We need to come together and celebrate each other.
Well, as soon as someone calls someone else a name, the original discussion is over, because now that person is in a position where they have to defend themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's a distraction. I'm thinking about the part in book 2, where Jesus spoke about giving positive feedback.
Yes.
That'd be a fresh start, wouldn't it?
Would it not? Yeah. I love that. That's one of my favorites. Speak the compliment out loud.
Yes, and I'm gonna. Your books have been a beacon of hope and comfort for me. Jesus spoke about encouraging positive change. Well, the alarm is going off. The time is now. Mm-hmm. And Jesus said it takes more effort to focus on the positive, though it's worth it. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I do is, because your books have been really instrumental in helping me and reminding me, because I randomly reread parts of book 2, and I got that idea from Carrie Klaber, because she's so smart. She's so smart. And it always lifts my spirit. It's always on point for the day. And it's just my little, not necessarily a mantra, but I tuck it in the back of my mind and say, okay, this was brought to me for a reason. So let me look at what goes on today through this lens. Because we all have lenses that we put in front of what we're actually seeing. So the challenge is to remove the lens or to change the lens.
And to understand why we were looking at the lens we were looking through. And say, oh, hey, what did I learn from that? Ask the questions. The only way to learn is to ask, right?
Yes.
Why am I stuck in this lens when I could be looking through that rose-colored lens, right?
Well, part of the whole awakening is about unlearning just about everything you learned and starting from a clean slate.
And that also means letting go of past pains, thoughts, programs, and people. And that gets tough. That gets really challenging, too. There have been some people who I've been very close to that just don't... It's not a sense of not getting it, but it's a sense of being adversarial. And I just tend to want to surround myself by peaceful, graceful people. And when someone is being confrontational, it just doesn't resonate. This is also part of that, the Great Awakening. To me, it's the people who are on a spiritual ascension to that 5D realm, and they're awakening from that 3D, which is all about anger, fear, greed, despair, that negative energy. And that's what the books are all about. And again, the books were channeled to me so that many, even the parts that I've written, when I reread them, I'm like, wow, where'd that come from? So a lot of this information came to me and through me, but it was meant for humanity. And that's part of what this show is about, is to help humanity awaken to what they need to be paying attention to now, right now. The world is at a tipping point. And I want to just interject for a moment and bring up a special song because we are in, I think this is the 9th day of Christmas, and we are moving toward the 6th of January, which is the Epiphany, which is when the 3 kings came. So I want to invite you to listen to the words of this song, if you will, please.
Awesome.
of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
Born a king on Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again. King forever, ceasing never over us all to reign.
O star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns a deity nigh, prayer and praising, all men raising, worship him God on high.
O star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
Myrrh is mine, its bitter perfume breathes a life of gathering gloom, sorrowing, sighing, bleeding, dying, sealed in the stone cold tomb. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
You know, I never really paid close attention to the words to that song before, but the whole concept of gold as the king, the frankincense for worshiping of incense, and then the myrrh was used for burial to cover the smell of death. And these magi were bringing these gifts because they followed that star. And it's the same star that we saw. So they were foretelling what was about to happen, the whole thing. And
Yes, they will.
yeah, it's very magical, very powerful. And we are in a similar phase right now. That was one of the things that Jesus said when he came through, is maybe I came at the wrong time. I knew that there was just something that I needed to be here, but I felt like it was the wrong time. Maybe I should have come later. Maybe I should have come earlier. But he was here to bring us messages, and yet he knew that they would be falling on deaf ears. And he's here with us now, today, in our hearts,
Absolutely.
in that Christ light within us.
Always. That's the meaning to me of the Sacred Heart. You know, the last year, we live in a world of duality. That's what I hope we're evolving out of. This last year tore people apart. It brought people together.
Yes.
Some lost everything. Some made unfathomable profits that mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
Some voices were censored. Others were amplified. So my hope is that we're moving from duality to unity, because that's the only way we're going to make it. And not a unity dictated that we can unify as long as you agree with me. No, we need to unify for the sake of the understanding that we are all one. This isn't a race, save for it is the human race.
Absolutely. And for the listeners, you're listening to WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. This is the Inspiring Hope Show. We're here every Sunday morning, and we feature different messages from different people. And right now, we're really focusing on the message of the Great Awakening. I'm here with my associate, Kathy Kubacki, and we're talking about what the Great Awakening means to us and to help stimulate people to start asking questions, to look beyond the obvious, to really delve into your hearts. Because for me, one of the silver linings in this whole COVID situation, this isolation, is the connections that I have made with some amazing people. More spiritual people have come into my world. And through Zoom sessions or phone sessions, maybe we're not seeing each other face to face in physical, but in spiritual and through the technological connections, we have been able to really connect at a far deeper, higher, greater level than ever I was able to with many people on that superficial level. So to me, that sense of isolation has caused a great opportunity for learning about, holy cow, what's been going on around me, and for appreciating the connection with people of true like minds that are on this mission to help save our planet.
100%.
And I know that many of us that are the light workers feel like we've been here before, like we were here at the time of Lemuria or Atlantis or Egypt or the time of Jesus or during the Nazi occupation. And we're here again. And many people have that deja vu feeling. They have that sense of empathic awareness, and they're wondering, why am I here? And many of us we've elected to be here again. Because,
yes,
go ahead.
I think we all have. You know, we've all elected to be here, so, you knew where the car was going before you jumped in. So I think it's time to step up, to really stop and think and stop being distracted and entertained and focus. Why am I here? What am I missing? What can I do? This feeling of separation is really an illusion that we have to get past, because while we're physically separated, our group couldn't be any more on the same page if we tried, could we?
No, I'm going to say yes, because I don't like the word no. I'm going to reframe that. Yes, and we actually are becoming more and more empathic, tuning into one another. And we have grown into a wonderful group of people who our heart-centered goal is to help others on this planet. Help others who are awakening, because it's a shock when you start looking around at what evil has gone on, and helping them to awaken in a gentle way to where we are going, and trusting. There are a lot of people who are so afraid because of what they're being told. And when we can move beyond that and trust our hearts and our spiritual connections and the connections with other people of spirit that have a knowing that we're going to be fine. This time, we are coming together to make a difference, and we are going to win. The light is winning.
But we're looking externally for a solution to a problem that lies internally.
Right.
That's where the connections are, from heart to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the answers are.
And and where, I've been saying a lot about, looking beyond. And the thing is many people have no idea where to look. It's kind of like, I'm going to go look for the answer out there underneath that light post where they have to look for it inside. But if you turn off the mainstream media, if you turn off the news, that programming that's being done that is so filled with falsehoods, one of the places that I've learned to look is One America News, the Epoch Times, Gateway Pundit. There are several different sources that you can find news that is credible, that is fair, that is representative of what is really going on, and not biased. They're not in a position of trying to convince you.
Well, there's a huge difference between news and opinion, right?
Correct. And so many of these are attempting to convince, or they're brainwashing, they're monitoring, and they're censoring. There are a lot of these different avenues are censoring people who have opinions or ideas or thoughts. And what our guides are suggesting is that we ask the questions, we think for ourselves, we are humans. We should not be allowing ourselves to be programmed to replay what we've heard others say to us. We must think for ourselves.
Well, and that's where the shut off the TV part comes in to play, because if you get in touch with your inner GPS system, somebody doesn't have to convince you what's good for you, do they? You just know it. You just feel it. You know, I ask you, we are expected to be responsible for our actions, are we not?
Mm-hmm.
And we are held accountable. Yet, and let me just say, I'm not anti-vax, I'm pro-choice. So why aren't vaccine manufacturers held accountable for their actions?
Mm-hmm.
If you die, if you have a bad reaction, if you are, infirmed for life from this vaccine, the manufacturers are blameless. Yet this has been rushed, and they're threatening to make it mandatory. Why?
And people don't even know what's in the vaccines. They don't realize that that they have. If you read the insert, you have the opportunity to. You're supposed to actually sign that you understand. It absolutely says in some of these handouts. It says things like could cause sterility, and what we have to do is ask the question: is that true? And then you get this really interesting dialogue of people who say, no, that's not true. It is true. But to me, that means what is true. When there is no common there's nothing, the stuff that people are putting out there that is true is being censored. So the average person does not hear it, does not see it, does not know it. And they're just blindly led into, this is what you have to do. And I'm hearing that something like 60% of healthcare workers are refusing this vaccine. And they're just using their wise mind. They're using discernment. Why do I need this if I'm not really, I've been exposed to this, I've not been sick. Why do I need a vaccine? So there's questions to be asked. And what we are encouraging people to do is ask the questions. Ask about the vaccines. Ask about COVID. Ask what is really going on here.
Right. Informed choice. Would you let a car dealer choose your next vehicle for you?
Mm-hmm.
Then why would you let a vaccine manufacturer or a government official tell you that you have to choose the vaccine?
And the other piece is you don't really know which vaccine you're getting, because there are a couple of different manufacturers that are manufacturing the vaccine, and they're very different, or they're different enough to cause different types of side effects. And in speaking to someone who was very influential, asked how does a person know which vaccine you're getting? Well, they don't know, because different things show up to in the delivery process at different times. So the person is not aware of what they're getting even. And that's a little scary.
Well, it is scary because I feel like we rushed to this approach. We were sold a bill of goods here, and we don't know. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's true.
Right.
What is the recovery rate from this? Has anybody looked at what the death rates were just overall from 2019 to 2020?
Oh, there have been some statistics that I have seen where it shows that the death rates overall in America is lower this year, overall, including cancers, viruses, colds, influenza, all of it. It's because, and this year, there miraculously were no deaths from cancer or influenza or other things. There have been reports from coroners who have people who died in a car accident, but they had COVID, so they were listed as dying with COVID. So there's a lot of curious things that are going on to me that we need to continue to ask the questions. Yes, our nursing home people, the people in the nursing homes, maybe they need it, but these young, healthy people, when we don't know if this is going to cause long-term stability, we don't know. So why would we give this?
Something keeps us from that. It's called our immune system.
Yes. And we need to stay positive. We have to stay positive to keep the immune system up, so that fear lowers the immune system. And that's the goal, is how can we keep people in fear? So how do we shift this, Kathy? What needs to happen to help people to lift their energy so that they can be more positive and create a positive outcome in 2021? What do you feel like we need to do to create that positive outcome?
Well, I think we have to do what we're doing, because there has to be a willingness on the part of people, but I'm kind of seeing an increase in that because this isn't a political thing. It really isn't. This isn't Democrat versus Republican and I'm this and you're that. You know what? That's the unity piece that's missing. Mm-hmm. You need to get out of duality thinking into unity thinking. The situations are so similar that if you're still fighting the same fight that you fought every year your whole life, I'm a this and I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, and so I have to believe this. If you don't ask yourself those questions, why do I believe this? What's really the matter at hand here? For one thing, isn't there a difference between dying with COVID and dying from COVID?
Yes, absolutely.
No.
And what we have to do is have people be aware enough to lift out of the fear and explore their own path, expanding their awareness so that they can shift their energy to sustain the positive.
But turn on common sense.
Yes.
If you follow that logic that dying with COVID is the same as dying from COVID. If I ate a piece of pizza and got in a car accident, then by logical standards, I died because of pizza and it caused the accident. Right. Did I not?
And that is what some would want you to believe. But what we're saying is shift out of that. Shift into awareness. That's what the Great Awakening is, to me, is being aware of the deception that's going on, being curious to ask the questions, and tapping into that higher mind to stay in a place of serenity. I have many people in my circles who are so afraid of what's going to happen. And yet, when you come from that place of calm certainty, that the light is going to win. You and I have seen this. We have cleared the negative energy. We have seen into the future, and we trust in the knowing that the light is going to win. We don't quite know exactly how just yet, but the light is going to win. I want to interrupt for just a second, Kathy. A good friend of ours, Rose, sent this, and I got permission from her to read it. It's really kind of an interesting welcome to 2020.
It's awesome.
It is. So listen to this. This is a way of looking at 2020 coming. Good day and welcome to Flight 2021. We're prepared to take off into the new year. Please make sure your positive attitude and gratitude are secured and locked in the upright position. All self-destruct devices, pity, anger, selfishness, and resentment should be turned off at this time. All negativity, hurt, and discouragement should be put away. Should you lose your positive attitude under pressure during this flight, reach up and pull down a prayer. Prayers will automatically be activated by faith. Once your faith is activated, you can assist other passengers who are of little faith. There will be no baggage allowed on this flight. God, our captain, has cleared us for takeoff. Destination greatness. Wishing you a healthy, happy new year filled with love, prosperity, joy, and new beginnings. Welcome in 2021. And that is so powerful and so true because Jesus tells us, love each other. It's just a simple matter of compassion. So even for those who are stuck in the muck, stuck in denial, stuck in confusion, there is opportunity this year for awakening. And there are many of us around who are here to help because we've been through it. And we can help people lift to their...
That's a big plane. Rose is talking about a really big plane, and there's room for us all on that flight.
That's right. That's right. And that's what the Chronicles of Hope is about shifting your own awareness. It's basically a self-help book in how to shift into a higher state of consciousness or a higher vibrational rate. These are the guides that came through, and Jesus was one of them, saying, you guys need to shift now, and you need to come together because you are all one. And as we come together, we can shift humanity's energy to the positive. One person, one community, one country at a time. We got this. We can do this.
Absolutely. I think Jesus would ask us to be a beacon and to hold the light of truth and forgiveness.
Yes. So we have to forgive ourselves, too, for being stuck, because I had my head stuck for a long time. This has been a year of holy cow. Why was I so blind and so trusting? And yet others have been here holding the light. I've been holding the light in my own way, but now that I am more aware of what's really going on, it puts me in a position of being supportive to others who are about to awaken. And Kathy, thank you for being here. Our show is about to come to a close. Thank you for helping to share compassion and peace at this time of great awakening. When we shine the light of love gently and consistently, it will shift the darkness that's pervaded much of our society. Let us raise our energy with the attitude of gratitude for all we hold dear. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann. We'll be here next week. Meanwhile, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.